Are we going to finish today on the last day of the year? I don't know. Let's
How
see what's
many?
going to happen. 30 gates. The 6-2. The 6-2 is a line of victory. It's a very fast line, 6 lines. So it's like 180 pieces. It's the very last line of supposedly the very last hexagram. It says victory, that's death. We don't talk about that and turn victory into a nasty thing. The heading up for this case, transition, like birth requires the determined strength for the passage through. It's all about just passing through. It's what consciousness finally recognized. What the 6364 recognizes that the only thing that you're really responsible for, in a sense, is that you're responsible for just recognizing that all you can do is survive. The only criterion is survival. It's the only one. As long as you're alive, you're serving a purpose of one kind of another, regardless of how you interpret it. It is whatever. The mental assuredness that new victory was inevitable, thus making triumph sweet, but not reasons for excess. The medical gift of enjoying the confusion and its diversity of data. And that is really the heart of it. The real victory at the end of the life is confusing. So why should I get upset? If I confused, if I don't get it, if I don't get it, who am I to figure all of that out? But there's a real victory in realize that at the very end of this passage, through that, tells you everything about this gate. What you think is not yours. It does not belong to you. Do not own it. It's not parked. It is flying through. It's the passage through. It is just moving through. Consciousness is just moving through. It's just the way it is. There's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing to be concerned about. It's just flowing through. And if you want to enjoy yourself and you've got a 64, you can just sort of rest back, look out the window, and watch the movie. Getting carried away at the mundane level, people on this cross think that they have a right to tell everybody what to do. They consider themselves to be kings of the world. They are sure that nobody in their right mind would ever challenge their authority. They are convinced that they are the leaders because they're the only ones who understand that nothing is understandable and therefore they must be the leaders. The 45 and the 26 underneath doesn't carry the same potency. It doesn't carry the potency that what we saw when we looked at in the earlier quarter. Here it's underneath the surface. It's flowing through the 64. And the 64, 6 line says, we will win, no matter. Now, they'll go through their tripartite life processing and they go through all of that. But the fact of the matter is, when you go on up on the roof, they go up on the roof assuming they're the king and the queen, emperor or empress, the great pasha. And of course, they lose perspective. They don't really see that leadership is something that has to be earned. The 45 can only earn its leadership by having proper support. And the other thing is that when you're dealing with the 6-2, whenever you see a leader that's a 6-2, you have to realize there's a bubble, a second line bubble. Cut it off, not really able to dig into things, separating themselves as leaders, the leaders that are above you, the things we see in a cult of personality, where you see those huge statues and posters and they're everywhere, and the mythic leader suddenly emerges. It has no connection to the people. Remember, there is no heart here. Then we go to the 6-3, left arm cross of dominion. When you're dealing with the 6-3, you're dealing with the very, very end of the process. And we know precisely where we're going. We're going into the 47 gate, which we are going into what is in the definition. We are moving right through. The abstract says duality is difficult, but the secret is the partner. The abstract mind says duality is different, but it's not the partner, it's the consciousness. So you have this whole thing that the abstract is building. But the fact that the 64 brings its demand for consciousness, it could only work in the context of the 47. After all, alone is it's nothing. Definition becomes a life force. It becomes something of power. If you're a cross of consciousness and you don't have mental definition, you're very, 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 very different than a cross of consciousness with mental definition. It's very different. It's one of the most obvious places of difference if you listen to these people and you converse with them. So that was the 64 gate. And now we go to the 47 gate, one of my favorite gates because it's all about making sense. And we start at the 1-3 profile on the right angle cross of rulership. So